The mother of the Oxford High School shooter is asking a Michigan judge to throw out her historic conviction. Jennifer Crumbley was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter earlier this year. Now she alleges prosecutors deliberately withheld agreements that their office made with witnesses and kept them from her defense team and jurors. The prosecutor's office denies the allegation. ABC News legal contributor Brian Buckmeyer is watching this case for us. Brian, Jennifer Crumbley and her husband James were the first parents in America to be held criminally responsible for a school shooting committed by their child. So how significant would it be if the judge does throw out her conviction?
Well, Diane, it would be everything and probably then some. As you said, this was the first time we saw a kind of case like this in the United States of America. Following that, I believe there was a Georgia shooting where parents are now indicted on similar charges. If this case was thrown out, that precedent-setting conviction would move in an opposite direction, where other parents who potentially could have been prosecuted because of this ruling will now point to Jennifer Crumbley, who could have her case overturned, and say, well, if she could not get prosecuted, then I could not as well. This will be a precedent in one way or another. The direction is just time will tell.
Now, Jennifer Crumbley is saying the prosecution withheld this favorable evidence. So how strong is her argument here?
That's a fairly strong argument. There are different types of evidence that can be withheld from a defense attorney and therefore the client as well. You've heard probably of Brady evidence. But there's also a thing called Giglio evidence. The difference being Brady typically shows that someone is not guilty, like if there was no DNA on a gun. Giglio is often about the credibility of a witness. And what the defense is saying here is that there were incentives given to two members of the school system to testify favorably for the prosecution. And that information wasn't passed along to the defense. The defense could have had the opportunity to question them about that, question their credibility as to why they're testifying in a certain way, and have the jury decide whether or not to believe those witnesses. Because that information was withheld, they lost a strong argument that they should have had at the trial. That, I think, to me, is a strong argument for a retrial. Probably not to have the case thrown out, but definitely for an appellate court to review this case.
And Jennifer Crumbley is serving a sentence of 10 to 15 years. So what happens next in this case?
The appeal process, exactly what we're seeing being played out here. Not only are we hearing about this favorable evidence not being handed over, but also an ineffective assistant counsel has been raised, as well as other evidence not being shared or arguments that the defense believes, a new defense actually, because it's not the same attorneys as who did the trial, believes were withheld from the defense that should have been allowed at trial. We'll see how those arguments go. We'll see whether or not there'll be a new trial if the case is thrown out altogether, but those are the next steps for Jennifer Crumbley.
All right, ABC News legal contributor Brian Buckmeyer, thank you.